So we'll start back with you then. What was your first acting before the camera role? You said when you were 12.
Yeah, I was 12. Back in 1982, my brother and some friends, we shot, we'd inherited a little 8mm film camera, and we went down in the woods and made a movie. And that was probably the first. It was 3 minutes long. I think that's about what you could get out of a canister of film at that point. And you'd have to send it off to the lab and wait for it to come back, and there was no audio, and the camera was not a through-the-lens view, so you didn't know exactly what you were going to get. And it, despite all of our grand illusions, once you got it developed and played it, it just looked like a bunch of kids running around the woods. But we got better successfully.
Right.
Successful summers after that, we got better. So.
Right. Did you add sound to your movies, or?
We tried. We tried the old tape recorder sync up with
Yeah.
the silent movie. That doesn't. They run at different speeds, and
Right.
it doesn't work.
Steadily went out of sync.
Yeah.
Like Chinese, Japanese movies.
Yeah.
Kristina, what was your?
Well, this is terrible because I can't remember the name of it, and I should have looked that up before I came. But it was John Whitney's short with the sister wives. So I think, well, there were a couple of things that I got cast in at the same time, but I think that's the one that shot first. And it was freezing cold. It was about, I don't know, about as cold as it is today. And I had to chase her outside with no coat, and we had a whole conversation outside, and she had her big coat. So every time that John yelled cut, we'd get in the coat together and wait until the next take. But it was fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Okay. And John, what was your first big
my first
screen
on screen was probably 12, I think, and it was a commercial in my very short-lived first time with an agent when I was a kid, and I think it was for Charles Penzone, for one of the first times that they were going to start advertising, and it was for an ad back then. So.
Okay.
So what was the name? I'm curious. What was? Do you remember? Did you have a name for that first movie that you guys?
Werewolf 1982.
Knew that had to be
Man.
nice.
So I'll do a little follow-up. Going before the camera and seeing yourself for the first time, or was it, or the whole process, was it, John, was it what you imagined, say, oh, we're going to do this, and I'm in front of the camera, and then you see it later?
No, I never saw it.
Oh.
But I mean, the experience of it was not what I thought it would be. It was fun, but it was that first time of, doing something over and over again and kind of losing a little bit of a mystique of it. Of like you're 12. You're like, I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to get paid for a commercial, and then you never see it, and
Right.
You're not sure what the heck you did, but it was fun. I mean, I remember having a lot of fun doing it, and then that was the only thing I ever did.
All right, Kristina, what was working on that film with John Whitney? What was it like when what you imagined and what it became?
Well, first of all, when Gil, he would say speed, I thought he said speak. So I was like, I'm not familiar with the term speak. So that was the first thing I learned, was that there's other things that are being said besides action. Yeah, seeing it, it was interesting. It was cool to watch. It was interesting to see, because I'd already done stage before that. And with stage, you see the whole story, and you know what the whole thing is. And so with this, I mean, I'd read the script, but there was a lot to the film that I hadn't been part of. So it was interesting to see the whole piece and see how you fit into it.
Mm-hmm. Bryan, I mean, the backyard films or whatever. I mean, was it kind of cool? Go to the theater and you see movies on the big screen and on TV and stuff. So when you did that first movie, was it magical, or was it like, ugh?
No, it was pure magic. I mean, you're 12 years old and you have this device that you can tell any story you want and you can capture it, and then you send it off to this lab, and then they send you back this thing, and it has what you shot. And the whole process was, when you're shooting it, there was no way like with digital video playback, you can look at what you just shot and all that. There was no way to look at it. So we'd send it off, and you kind of forget about it for 2 weeks when you're 12, and then you get this thing from the drugstore, and it's like, let's go get the projector and put it in the garage and see what we have. And the whole thing, to me, was magic. That's why I'm still doing, acting and film and producing and all that stuff, because I still fascinated with it.
Telling stories with a camera.
Yeah.
That's great. So, all right, well, let's get to the nitty gritty. Jon, what kind of training did you have or you could recommend for actors that are, you know, starting out, and what's the good road to take so you can be ready when that camera is first pointed at you?
I think it depends on where you are in your life. I mean, if you're in a university setting, obviously, if you're in a place where there's a theater program or an acting program, that'd be the place to start. If you're not in that kind of setting, finding any kind of resources that are available, that's what I did. I mean, I studied theater did a lot of theater in high school, and then I did no theater other than like a Theater 100 class in college. And so really most of my training has come from taking classes from instructors locally outside of school, outside of a university system or an educational system. And then just starting to try to do as much work as I possibly could, whether it was with other friends who were doing film, and I didn't get into the other side of the camera for a while, so if anybody that I knew was making a film or doing anything, I just wanted to be a part of it, and you can get a lot of great experience that way. You know, those are the places to start, and then you know, there's workshops, and I would just say be choosy in the workshops that you do, because if you're going to take time and money to invest in yourself, you know, make sure it's going to give you a worthwhile return on it. But there's a lot of resources that you can do outside of the university system.
Okay.
So,
Kristina, what kind of
What kind of
training, what kind of practice, whatever you could helped you and you think would help others?
Well, I took a couple of classes. I used to live in Las Vegas, so I took classes at UNLV, improv classes, and then I took a class at OSU. But like Jon, most of my training has been through people who offer classes outside of a university setting. And I think the thing is, people want to know who's the best person to study with, and there are strengths and weaknesses out there, but I think if you're in a university, you're not going to have just one person teach you, and I think different people react differently to different instruction. So I think find your way, and don't be afraid to take classes from more than one person.
Okay.
Because you learn different things. I have a lot of different instructors in my head when I'm working through a script and trying to figure out what I need to do. So.
Right. Okay. And Bryan, what training? What kind of? Or do you just kind of walk into it?
Well, I kind of took the opposite way. I kind of worked my way into production from the other side of the camera, which was I was a tape guy and, you know, an editor assistant, and you know, I'd go out on shoots, and I was learning more about the production side of it. And through that, I got opportunities to do a lot of voiceover work, and then started stepping in front of the camera. And you know, I did take some classes in high school. I took drama, and I took acting classes at Ohio State and things like that. But I've never really, again, my love affair was with production as a whole, with making movies and making stories, and so I kind of came at it that way, kind of back way, and I got to meet great actors that were already doing it when I was doing production, and a lot of them gave me a safe place to fail, and I think that's like a really, everybody needs that, you know. It's just like a certain point in our lives when then it kind of gets pulled out from under you where it's not safe to fail anymore. And I was lucky that I got to be around a lot of creative people that gave me a safe place to